All right. Good day, everyone. It is
Hello, everyone.
me and Camille. Yes,
Yes.
we are back again.
Happy
Uh,
Friday.
Happy Friday to you too. Thank you so much. Glad to see another Friday, I believe.
Right.
So, welcome back, and we are going to briefly discuss today, going back into our change management and project management, being that power couple. We're going to talk
Mhm.
about deliverables with people in mind, right? What we need to get them to actually do the work. So, Camille, say good morning to the people.
Good morning, everyone. It's me, Camille, your no BS change alchemist. I think I think we lost Ty.
Uh-oh, I'm
Oh,
back.
we lost you for a minute.
I'm back.
Right. So Ty, for us to kick off, I was thinking about like if we could briefly talk about a project where go live happened, but employees avoided system or created workarounds because it wasn't designed with the people in mind. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Yes, a few times. Look, I'm trying to figure out how I can protect the innocent right now and not say
Right.
someone's name out loud. But yes, and I think it happened mostly in my early career, um,
Mm-hmm.
where I didn't push hard enough in order to make sure that the people were involved. Because there, even though there may be resistance on a project team inside an organization, if you go and you speak to the right people and start engaging them, then there
Mm-hmm.
are ways to make sure that people use the system from day one and that they don't circumvent it. So I think for me, it still goes back to communication and making sure the right people are in place. But yes,
Right.
I've seen it
You
before.
know, unfortunately, like I have been in situations where I would be called onto a project after it's gone live
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't take that people account into mind or there wasn't strong leadership or strong sponsorship.
Yes.
And it was actually this goal like that we have to come in now and create that change plan because
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we're going to explore today, that when we design rollout, we have to design it with people in mind. And success is not just measured by task, but it's measured by that mindset and
Right.
that behavior change.
Right. Exactly. All
Mhm.
right. So let's talk about how we design the rollout with people in mind. Let's go and jump right into that. What are your
Sure.
suggestions?
So first thing is when we look at designing that training, we don't want training to be a one and done workshop. We want to create learning journey for different persona group.
Yeah.
And when I say persona, I want you guys to think about is how we identify and group a specific stakeholder, right?
Yeah.
So for example, if we have, say, we have sales, we have customer service, we have HR, each of those are different personas, and we want to create that learner journey with that specific persona in mind. Not only that, we don't want to do like a one and done workshop. Like I said before, we want to create bite-sized, role-based, accessible learning.
Yeah.
So if you have like a LMS, we want to ensure that we are putting stuff on that LMS. We want people to be able to access information whenever that they are needed or want to do a refresher. And along with, yes, we're going to do things like user acceptance testing and different training. We want to ensure that we are putting out like fun, cute, bite-sized videos or bite-sized learning, and reinforce that with some quick reference guide, refresher session, lunch and learn,
Mm.
all of those things.
Yeah, lunch and learns are
Right?
important. And I do agree with all of that. My PM side just kicking in. I think
Yes.
for me, with my team, the very first thing that we have to make sure that is done when we are designing a rollout plan is making sure that we understand current state, right? So
Yes.
making sure that we understand those processes so that we can accurately translate that over to your training, right? And then we
Right.
can really make the training meaningful for everyone, because we want to know how it's going to impact the next person, like end to end, like when we start
Mhm.
and when we begin, all of those things within those personas and those day of lives that Camille was just speaking about. That's how she designs that, is really starting from where we are now and then looking how we'll take
Mhm.
some of those things and we'll translate them into the future state of our system.
Right. And that really, what you're saying to me right now really have me thinking about change impact. We
Mm,
cannot close the gap unless we truly understand what those impacts are. And like Ty said, in order for us to understand change impact, yes, we're going to know who our stakeholders are. And yes, we are going to segment our personas, but we need to understand current state, what their day in the life look like today, and the
yeah,
future states. And then that gap in the middle, that's where we bridge the gap and create those bite-sized learning and the quick reference guide and all of those.
yeah.
I would suggest too, when it comes to training as consultants, especially, this one is for individuals that go from project to project like us,
Mhm.
is have that conversation with end users and ask them, how do you like to be trained? Um,
That's
Also,
part of
you
those
want to
assessments,
really
those
get
training
together with
assessments.
that, yes, with that training team. Don't just come in and assume, because each organization is different. I've seen organization where they're very tech savvy, and then there's other organizations where people like to physically hold something. They want a template in their hand. You might put something up on a bullet board. That's how they digest information. And then we want to also understand various learning styles. And we want to ensure that throughout our training, we're hitting on those various learning styles throughout the project. Even though we're going to have it on a timeline where we map out training to be done, we're going to have specific timeline. We want to make sure that we're exposing users throughout the entire project. Going back to like ProSci talks about ADKAR. You have that awareness, desire, and knowledge and ability. So we want to make sure we're taking them on that journey of knowledge and ability from not just that small pocket, but continuously.
Yeah. So I love everything that you just said, but how do we track the success once we are able to get through actually um, building the requirements, building the current state, taking that, translating it into our future state, and building those nice digestible pockets of training? How do we track the success of those trainings?
You know, a lot of us might think that you track based on just the milestone that is completed, but milestone tracks completion, not commitment. So one way that we can track success of those training is we are going to have those feedback loops, which I think we're going to go in really quickly. A thing that I like to do is after a training session, we want to send out a survey to see how effective was this training. And it's always better. What I like to do is I like to measure readiness, say before training or before we expose them to the system, and like measure readiness as we're going throughout, and measure readiness afterwards, so we can see that difference.
Yeah.
um, we want to ensure that during training sessions that we create opportunities where individuals can come and voice and create that safe space again, where they can say, okay, I don't understand this.
Right.
This is not clicking for me. We want to create safe environments where individuals can really voice their feedback.
Yeah.
And we have to remember that feedback is the fuel that we're going to use to drive this entire project. And when we are creating those feedback loop, we want to ensure that we have two-way chat channels, listening session, pulse check, and most importantly, we want to close that loop. We
Yeah.
want to ensure that whatever feedback we get, stakeholders are seeing that we are answering some of those questions, or we're addressing some of those concerns. Ty, you and I spoke briefly before we got on how many times that we have seen surveys being done in projects, but there's nothing was acted on the survey. We didn't do any communication that say, hey guys, we did the survey and say 50% say that they're not ready, but here is how we're going to address that.
Yeah.
So yes, I feel like it's very important that while we're asking for feedback, that we want to ensure that we're closing that feedback loop.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I definitely agree. And I think the reason why most organizations probably don't share that information is because they aren't getting the results that they're looking for. But I would say my solution to not getting the results that you're looking for, maybe on these initial surveys and things like that, that's what the data is for. Data doesn't lie. So we have to take what we've learned in the survey, and we have to work to make sure that we cover those bases. We cover the bases, we cover the gaps, and then we will probably start receiving the feedback that we're looking for. But we really,
I'm sorry, Ty.
go ahead. It's okay.
I was gonna be like, that's why I said feedback is fuel. So to me, a feedback, it's a pulse check for us to understand, okay, do we need to do a little bit more of X? Right. Do we need to do more communication, more training? So we want to early on, like they always say in Agile, we want to fail fast and fix it really quickly. So we shouldn't be shying away from feedback and those data. We should take that as an opportunity to activate stakeholders and activate our next step in this project.
Yeah. So in project management, on the waterfall side, we call that progressive elaboration. So it's just making sure that you are progressively moving on, elaborating the project based on the feedback that you receive. I know a lot of people don't think that that waterfall has an agile, mindset. They say that waterfall is more set, and it is, because you try to plan out as much as you can. But it still allows for a bit of flexibility where you are taking on a small bit of that agile mindset, and you're able to, progressive look down the road, right? Use the feedback that we're receiving, and then move on and continue to build upon your project from there.
Yeah. Right. So in project management, when you guys are looking at those feedbacks, is it tied to different milestones? Like if it's waterfall versus agile, are those feedback tied to those milestones?
Yes, you definitely want to make sure that no matter if it's waterfall or agile, that you are taking those milestones. And the thing about milestones is, I want to kind of clear the myth up, right? In PMI, in the world of PMI, milestones don't have a date, right? They're just like literally points in time to say that this has been completed. This is just a mark in time that it has been completed, but it does not have a specific date. It does not have a specific length of time. It's just a mark in your project to say, hey, we have crossed this finish line, and now we're moving towards this next finish line or milestone. But yes, you definitely still want to go back and make sure that you are building in those feedback loops, making sure that they are integrated within that part of the framework.
And this is where we become the power couple, because this is where the PM lean on the OCM practitioner to figure out, okay, these are the feedback that we have received. How are we going to move those people along? And Ty, must say that you are an incredible, amazing PM, because you always think about that people side of it, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's so important. You can't do anything without your people. I am the project manager or the project leader. I am there I have a certain job, and my job is not to implement the system. My job is not to code. My job is not to configure. My job is to lead the project, manage the risk, manage the schedule and things like that, and make sure that my team are on the right seats, on the right bus, and they're able to implement this project alone. I can't do it alone. It's
You sure can't.
blasphemous to think that I can do,
Like the
that I
blasphemy.
can implement a project alone. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then as a PM, you can see the importance of collaborating with the change managers,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Because when you're looking at all those things and those technicalities, we are supposed to be focused on that user readiness and adoption.
Yeah.
When you pair those two, and again, coming back to close our feedback loop, we are truly moving towards a successful go live.
Right, exactly. Everyone has their lane. And if
Mhm.
imagine in the world, if everyone stayed in their lane on the road, like literally on the road, there will be no accidents. That's what I say.
No
You can't bump
accidents.
into everybody. Anyone, if you know your lane and you stay in it, play your role. It's okay.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about we talked about tracking success, but let's talk about tracking beyond those milestones when it comes
Mhm.
to project management and change management.
So when we want to look at, there are four things that signaled if we are moving towards adoption, right? And four things that we want to track. We want to track confidence. Does people feel capable? That's one. The second thing we want to track is engagement. Are they asking questions and sharing feedback?
Yeah.
The third thing, we want to track mindset shift. We want to ensure that people are moving from I have to I want to.
Oh,
And
that's good.
then we want to track capabilities. How capable are they to perform this task? So we want to look at where was their skill set before and where they are at midpoint in the project and where they are right before go live. So those are the
Yeah.
things that we are trying to look at and trying to track.
Oh, that's really good. So let's break down a couple of those. Which ones
Mhm.
do you want to go deeper
We
on?
can
'Cause
look at
I love them.
confidence,
Yeah.
right? Um, so confidence have to do with a lot of these things are when it comes to OCM or organizational change management is what we do is a lot of behavior change.
Mm,
Um, a lot of these are a lot of soft skills and the feelings and the confidence and all of that with people. So when we look at people feeling capable, it's all about how confident do they feel, not just about doing the tasks in that training environment, but how confident are they feeling that they're able to perform this new process
mm,
task in their day-to-day life moving
mhm.
forward. And our job is to ensure that we are driving confidence and we are taking them across that finish line.
Mm,
What confidence might look like and what some individual might need to feel confident is something that we really want to dive into. So we want to ensure that we are creating a safe space. I always say that if it's a technology rollout, we want to make sure that if it's possible, we need to create an environment where people can come in probably a one-on-one and ask questions. Similar to when you're in school and they have like a computer lab
yeah.
that individual can come in and work it out. We want to ensure that we have someone always available to answer questions. And if it need be, we are going to do as much hand holding as we possibly can. And when it comes back to measuring, this is something that we need to continuously measure. We need to measure how confident are my stakeholders right before go live. How confident were they before? And then, guys, this is how you can show your value or your achievement from this project and saying, okay, I move X amount of stakeholders that were feeling this way. And
Yeah.
then at a point in time, they said their maximum confidence.
Yeah.
The next one we can look into is like really engagement. And I said like engagement is around, are they asking questions or sharing feedback? We going back again to saying feedback is fuel and embracing feedback, whether negative or positive, is that when stakeholders are too quiet, also, it's not necessarily a good thing when you see people are quiet and shutting down. So we want to create those environment, or I would always say, like, those different touch points, right? Where people can engage with the project team and people can ask those questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look into that mindset shift, again, looking at CAR, we want to move them. Okay, we're moving them awareness. They're aware that this project is happening, but we want them to have that desire. So
Right.
moving them from I have to do this to I want to do this, creating that desire. And I will say how we create desire is we are communicating the what's in it for me.
Mm-hmm.
We're also communicating what is changing versus what is not changing, and how this is going to, for that individual, not necessarily for the organization, because people are worried about themselves and what they're going through.
Right.
How is it going to make their life better?
Right, exactly. So just going back, you said a lot, but just going back to what you said about the user adoption piece of it, and just making sure the confidence, I think you were talking about confidence, but it brought to my mind user adoption, because that's definitely one of the KPIs that I'm measuring the first year post implementation, right? Because if we have a 60% user adoption, where we can literally see that people aren't going in and making certain type of changes in the system and things like that, that also provides that window of user confidence and user adoption. Because if they are going in and just really like smoothly doing their work, and we're able to capture that in the analytics, and I have a 60% user adoption, oh man, I did good. It may not, in school back in the day, that may not have been a passing grade, but for me,
Right.
I have 60% of the organization adopting a system within a year. Man,
That's pretty good. Yes. And I want to touch on, like, what to measure, right? What to measure. So we want to measure like readiness, and we want to send out like confidence surveys, participation in optional training. Like if we make a training optional, like a lunch and learn, how many people attended those optional training? We want to ensure that we are capturing early wins and behavior changes, and we want to put that in communication. Share stories of those early adopters and early win. And one of those important things is we want to ensure that leadership is modeling this new process, and we want to ensure that we are measuring when how individuals are interacting, or how are they like let me pull back when it comes to like leadership, right?
Yeah,
so when we come to our executive sponsorship, there are certain things that our leaders can do. We want leaders to attend training session if they can. This is how we are going to look at modeling. We want leaders to share their own learning struggles, and we want leaders to publicly recognize early adopters. When we create our sponsorship model, and going back to measuring and milestones, we want to track each of those different things that we are ensuring that we are, as change managers, we are equipping our leaders with each of those activities. And we want to measure individual participation or desire towards that change throughout that leadership journey. So we are the one that, even though we have our executive sponsorship, we want them to do all of these tasks. We are responsible to facilitate, guide the leaders along this journey, and we are also measuring all of this as well.
Yeah, you cannot successfully implement a project, especially if it's an enterprise-wide project, without the support of your executive leadership. Not only should they be out front cheering you along and helping to remove roadblocks if you are the project leader, they should also be part of your change champion team. They should be there at your change champion kickoff. They should have talking points, right? As the change manager, I feel like we should equip them with talking points, certain points that they speak on, certain things that they need to focus on, during those change champion meetings. We know that you can't be at every one, but at least be at the kickoff and then join some in between so that people can see your presence and know that this project is supported by you as an executive leader. It is so important. It can make or break a project, literally.
It really can. It really can. How many times have we seen sponsorship just show up at the beginning of the project? They do a quick town hall and no one has ever heard from them again. Maybe they put something in a newsletter and that's about it. But what I'm saying and what I'm saying is that actively show up, actively be a part of it, actively model the new way of working. And all of those things will fall in place, and we should see better adoption. There's so many research out there that talks about how strong sponsorship helps with project success.
Yes, I have a few projects where the executive leadership showed up and the success rate was very high, right? That's one of those ones that I can say that it was a 60% user adoption within that first year. And then I've had projects that I've worked on and the executive leadership was null and non-existent. And the user adoption, the entire rollout was very rough. We may have gone live, but that's one of those instances where people begin circumventing the system very early and very quickly because the leadership was not in place.
I have some data that I looked up when it comes to leader, how key research that speaks on the success of executive leadership. And this one right here is leadership characters drive business performance. And this is from the Harvard Business Impact. And it says firms with such leadership report up to 5 times higher return on asset compared to those with low character leadership support, right? So 5 times higher return on their investment.
Right.
When we are seeing that leaderships are showing up and showing out for these projects.
Yeah.
And Ty, you mentioned like you have been in on projects where two sides of the coin, where you have lots of where there's active leadership, active sponsorship, and projects where leadership are really kind of standoffish. And I've seen that myself. And what I want our audience to understand, and I don't know if there's any quick tips that we can give them before I wrapped up, how can we help the leaders to see how important it is for their visibility during this project?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I'm probably, I don't know, because I'm a little bit of a rebel with my project.
I know you're a rebel.
So I want to make sure that I'm giving the right type of actionable steps. But for me, it always begins with risk planning, right? So that is what I do before I do anything else on the project. I perform a risk assessment, right? Where we are right here, right now, as far as risk, right? Especially if we're working in a political environment or something like that. Here's the risk. Here's where we stand. And here's what I need from you to help me to develop contingencies for these risks. And then if they happen, how do we mitigate them? So I am very upfront with my consultations when it comes to risk. And from there, I develop a weekly status report for my executive leaders.
Right.
So there is no way that they can't understand exactly what is going on with my project. I deliver that to them. And then I also have standing bi-weekly meetings with my executive leadership. I work with their secretary, their gatekeeper. I form that relationship also.
Right.
So she or he can make sure that I am on their calendar and that they make the time for me. Because you have to make them make time for you when it comes to
you really do.
Yeah. So just make sure that you are visible as a project leader. So I think that's my main advice right there. Just making sure that you are visible to the executive leader.
Yeah. And then that's from a project management side. From the change management side, some of the things that we can do we want to start by creating that case for change.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to align that with the leaders. I always say we have to speak the language that they understand. We want to talk about why this change is needed now. And we want to have the leadership. We are going to have a meeting with them where we're building this case for change and have them speak on it. Why is this change needed now? Risks of not changing and the benefits of the business and people being a part of that change, and how their involvement is going to help.
Yeah.
Then we want to ensure that they understand their defined roles and responsibility. We can expect them to show up and show out if we as the professionals are not helping them and saying, okay, this is what we need from you. And this is the reason why we need that from you. Right. So we want to ensure that we are really defining those roles and responsibility for executive sponsors, maybe our mid-level managers or frontline supervisors, for our champions, for our subject matter experts. And we're going to create a sponsorship model, which is a playbook that shows them exactly what we need them to do and what are those expectations explicitly that we need them to have throughout the project. And just similar to what you said, Ty, we want to build leadership forums and ongoing alignment. We want to ensure that we have a kickoff meeting. We want to meet with our sponsors monthly and those midline managers, and really have that open forum and ensure that we are equipping them with different talking points and different materials and messaging and tools that they need.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And along the way, again, we are constantly measuring, and we are helping them, showing them how to model what success looks like. Yep. And what this change will be, and have the leader, explicitly talk about challenges that they might be having. So that creates another level of psychological safety, and that really creates a culture in your environment, in your environment of real openness and honesty. When a leader can admit that, look, this change is hard for me as well, and this system is hard for me as well, we tend to see a higher adoption, and people care about this change.
Yeah, I love it. Yes, Camille. Happy Friday. This was a great live. I love it.
Yes.
So I hope those that are out there watching us as we go through our series, that you all are picking up some really great gems, because we want to make this tangible. We want to make sure that you're able to take the strategies that we have already learned out here in the real world. You're taking those and you can apply them back as much as possible to your situations, to your rollouts and things like that. So that's why we are here. So as we get
tried and tested.
Yes, they are.
I failed.
A couple of times, yes. So if you're a project manager or a change manager, it's all about the people. So we just want to make sure that you know how to factor in the people, and that they are at the heart of every decision that you make. So until next time, Camille, let's tell them what kind of emoji do they need to drop us to let us know that they tuned in and got something good.
Like a smiley. What do you think? This emoji, the emoji with the hands out, the palms out.
Okay,
give us some encouragement.
Give some encouragement. Sounds good. All right. Well, happy Friday, and we'll talk to you all next week.
Bye, guys.